Welcome to a QMA podcast. Here we explore rewiring your powers within to not only gain a genius intellect, but ultimately become superhuman. Using quantum mind acceleration, one could not only upgrade their mind to a genius level, but also create at a quantum level and speed of achievement. Further, by raising one's consciousness to discover your life purpose, plus activating your divine hidden powers, one can then become who they truly are, yourself. I'm your host today, Vanessa Nela. And to kick us off with today's topic, let's hear a message from Master JD as an introduction to QMA and its related benefits. Maybe fill us in a bit more on how it works and how raising your consciousness works. What is consciousness anyway?
Okay, well, you've hit a big topic if we're going to go into consciousness. So why don't we start there? What is consciousness? Well, consciousness is the infinite awareness. In a word, Vanessa, it's everything. The layers of consciousness or pure consciousness are one, considered to be source energy, what we call God or the universe or spiritual energy, the origin of all existence. There's individualized consciousness, your soul, a unique expression of the infinite, choosing to experience, create, and evolve here on this third dimensional earth, rock of earth where we live currently. There's the ego or working consciousness, the awareness you use daily, shaped by memory, language, or culture. It is the tool, not the truth. So some key understanding, Vanessa, is that consciousness is the canvas of creation. All things are vibrations. It responds to will, belief, and intention. This is why your thoughts shape your reality, as Einstein referred to it. Reality is actually happening through your consciousness. And a final truth, when you ask, what is consciousness? The answer is not found in words, but in silence, in meditation, in the breath that pauses before it exhales. That moment, that is you. So, Vanessa, getting back to, does QMA sound too good to be true? Is it happening too fast? It's about your consciousness is now being opened. Your inner codes are now being opened. And we all have these powers. You know, we've been taught, you're in a master's program or completed a master's program, so you're a highly educated individual. I've spent years, being educated. And, they've tricked us. Logic is meant to be the new God. Well, we've been programmed as to what the logic is so that you would say, oh my God, that sounds too good to be true. You can't upgrade your mind in 12 days. Well, I'm here to tell you we can. We've done it. I've done it. Others will do it going forward. And it's about truly understanding our ancient, eternal codes and this power that we've had for hundreds of thousands of years. It's about accessing that and opening it, opening our 12-stranded DNA, opening our mind to the genius level of intellect and using energy, the ethereal energy all around us that Tesla spoke about, to recharge our mind and our body to be the fullest, complete version that you can be. So, have some faith. Every program requires a leap of faith, frankly, and take that leap. There's something that the consciousness world is a buzz about, and it's called ascension. We're thought to now be in a period of ascension. So it's a period where we as humans have never been before. We're more receptive to conscious awareness. We're more receptive to the veils of the universe being unlocked and to be able to upgrade our skills and our mind. So, Vanessa, it's really about, we all have that power within, all right? Everyone does. It's just, will you choose to unlock and open those powers and to grow?
And we unlock those powers by raising our consciousness to the next level, right?
Yes.
how do I get to the next level? How do I know I've reached the next level? Can I feel it?
Boy, you ask a lot of tough questions, Vanessa.
That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for, just to grind out old JD. Okay, look. The consciousness world of which I'm a part of, we believe, and this is, our ancient history tells us that, there are generally accepted 12 dimensions around us. In fact, there's 180 dimensions around you, Vanessa, that you can access. But 12 key dimensions that are available to us. And it's thought that the current world, the current earth that we live in and exist in and feel our frequencies in here and now are the third dimension. And quite frankly, it's a bit of a shithole down here. Wars, poverty, fear, controlling of the masses, bad health care, on and on it goes. But in this third dimension, it's felt that, the average individual, they have a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, there's apathy, there's grief. God knows there's fear everywhere. We have desires, we have anger, we get road rage. We have, immense pride. We have this thing called courage. And as we rise up the levels of consciousness, and I would ask, the listener to somehow find our pyramid where we show the levels of consciousness. They're on our website. They're on this video as well. And have a look at that or come back to it. And you'll see where we are in the third dimension right now. Some consider it to be the lower end of hell or the upper end of hell or purgatory.
That's why we're all trying to get out of here now.
Well, it's possible to raise to the fourth and fifth dimension and so forth to the sixth dimension. The fourth dimension is thought to be, we have a little more neutrality. There's more willingness. There's more acceptance of ourselves and others. We start to gain inner light. And as we gain inner light and inner wisdom and become more whole with oneness, we get self-realization and we start to raise our levels of consciousness. Now, to raise our levels of consciousness, we employ, I've done a half a dozen or so of really good quality videos that, again, you just have to listen to. Some are subliminal, some have frequencies, but it's largely me talking and explaining and then integrating a meditation in each learning lesson of how to raise your consciousness. So very helpful, and then discussions with me, of course, and I know what an individual needs to raise their particular consciousness levels, and I assist you, and I can bring energy from the higher dimensions down into your body to help you flow and to raise your consciousness. So, Vanessa, it's thought that the fifth dimension is heaven, what we refer to as heaven. And this period of time in this consciousness world feels that we're in a period of ascension where we as humans, and possibly the world, our frequencies are going to rise, and the vast majority of us, at least half or so, will rise to the fifth dimension. And we'll leave behind all the fear and guilt and craziness and wars down here for those that don't choose to raise their consciousness, perhaps. And so as you gain better consciousness, better enlightenment through meditation, through discovering yourself, discovering your higher self, you start to rise through the levels of consciousness. Now, Vanessa, personally, it took me years, like maybe, goodness, at least 10, 12 years to get to the ability to raise or transcend into the sixth dimension. And then I discovered QMA. I figured it would take me 5 to 10 more years to get to the 12th dimension, which is considered the God dimension. And QMA put me there within weeks and days, not years. And again, it was part of my calling to come back here and help others. When I was in the 5th, 6th dimension, I thought my calling was going to be a healer, to help others with their health, one at a time. Well, that's a long burden. What I was shown through this process is that now I'm here to teach QMA and to refine it, to help leaders learn and develop their QMA, raise their consciousness and become superhuman so that they can spread good at a much more exponential level than what an individual is capable of doing. So my calling and purpose came to me. And in the 12th dimension, it's an amazing thing. You're able to, certainly when you get to the 5th or 6th dimension, you're feeling bliss. You know, you're in a place of no time, of no space, as nobody, as Dr. Joe Dispenza describes it. I love that expression. Going to the higher dimensions, it's true bliss. And in the 12th dimension, I'm able to touch the hand of God or source energy. And it's an amazing thing. And I can look back and look at matrices that are involved around us. So it's pure bliss. It's pure energy. And we all have this ability to get there. It was thought that, Yeshua or Jesus, who was many things, but he came, apparently, he and Mary Magdalena came from the 12th dimension or beyond. And they were the Christos energy that, was planted here on earth to help us. And one day to help us all ascend and awaken. And here we are. And Jesus or Yeshua always told us, we all have the powers that he has. And so when someone says QMA sounds crazy or whatever it is, how do we do it? Look to Yeshua. I'm not saying you have to be Christian or non-Christian. You can be Muslim. You can be a Buddhist. Whatever. You can be an atheist. But a little faith that the great Jesus taught us. We all have these powers, and so QMA is part of that, of unlocking those powers and triggering you to levels of comprehension that we just don't understand or appreciate on this little rock in the 3rd dimension where logic surrounds us, Vanessa.
Fair enough. So when we ascend to the next dimensions, when we learn how to travel there, we can then unlock skills and capabilities, or maybe take back skills from the other dimensions to use in our everyday life?
Or not?
How do I imagine?
Yeah, yes, we can. Now, that is not necessarily my level of expertise, but there are those at a master level that can shift paradigms. So the consciousness world generally believes there's 180 dimensions around us, that your soul, at night you sleep. Well, your soul, this is boring to stay in this 3rd dimension. It takes off. It goes into other dimensions. It goes back to its home, perhaps. It goes and plays in other paradigms, in other dimensions. And, Vanessa, you wake up and say, that dream just was amazing. It felt like reality. Well, likely it was. Your soul was off playing and experiencing a reality in another dimension. That's why it felt so real.
So we're already doing it, we're just not as aware of it.
Exactly. Conscious awareness. Now it's about opening up and being aware of your powers and your consciousness.
So the skills we can learn from raising our consciousness with the QMA process, they do help us in our everyday lives. Like you said earlier about me learning Spanish, I can learn Spanish quicker, and you mentioned that you will be happier, not as depressed. So those are very much skills that are helpful in our everyday lives. However, you also mentioned a couple of things that go beyond that, no?
Yes. Depression. Do you want to hit on that, Vanessa, or do we leave that alone? That's a big button for many people. And I've experienced depression over my life. Everybody that I know, frankly, has. We could spend a moment on that if you care to.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do so because I think that's an important topic for a lot of people.
Okay, let's do it. Look, happiness, a key ingredient is, and consciousness for that matter, it's all about living in the present moment. Vanessa, happiness is right here and now. This moment, you and I looking at one another, me looking at your beautiful eyes and beautiful face and smile. This is happiness. So happiness is just a thought away. But our focus, it's like when you go on a vacation. you have a great trip for a week. Well, you're away from all your worries. You're away from your employees. You're away from, your stakeholders, your shareholders, your clients. You get to focus on the present moment. That's why we love holidays so much. So avoiding depression or managing depression or getting out of depressions, we're not going to be able to do it all right now, but it's about getting into the present moment and staying here more often than not. And what we want to do is say, look, the past is just experiences. Hey, I've had many failures in the past. I've had many successes in the past. But we tend to hold on to those failures or whatever our concern or depression focuses. So our mind, our thought, our energy, it's all focused on those past events. We have to learn to just let them go. They're just experiences. We as a soul, we're eternal. It doesn't matter. We're just here in this third dimension to experience our free will and to have experiences and to grow as a soul. So don't look at those past experiences as anything other than, they're not challenges. They were meant to, for you to grow and to evolve, okay? So you could actually turn them into positives, and they're just events. But if you put all your energy, all your thought, all your focus on those things that drive you nuts from your past, you will be depressed. Conversely, if you put all your energy, your thought, and worry on your future, where you're going to be next week, where you're going to be next month, will I make that mortgage payment? Will I be able to cover my employees' payroll next month? If you've got all your thought there, you get anxiety.
Yeah.
So the idea is, look, we can't, in theory, control the past. We can influence the future by setting our intentions and goals and using QMA to really have a fabulous future. But in theory, we can't control the future. So something we can't control, just let it go. Learn to let it go. Meditate, be at peace, and get your mind focused into the present. Okay, when you're in the present, this is where all the fun is. This is the joy. This is where you can experience happiness. Okay? A great part of this understanding is, and this will come as you raise your consciousness, you'll understand that you really are a soul living in multi-dimensions, and you have great powers. And there's never a reason to fear death. It's just your bodysuit, this meat suit that needs an upgrade. It dies, okay? When your soul just transition, it lives on. So don't have any fear. Don't fear death, Don't fear anything. And then if your fear isn't there running your life and making you depressed, now you can turn that around and accomplish virtually anything, Vanessa.
You say you can accomplish virtually anything. That are things that we don't really concern ourselves with every day, most likely. You mentioned healing before, you mentioned the Merkaba seal of protection before, astral projection. All these things are probably part of being a superhuman, no? What's that all about? How do we get there?
Okay. Vanessa, becoming superhuman. Einstein spoke of this, gave us many messages, so have many other greats. Our process is, typically once you become a QMA private club member, if someone wants to, it's optional, you can go through this process of becoming what we define as superhuman. And we define it as one, of course, upgrading your mind, using QMA, going to a next genius level of intellect. And you obviously are heightening your intellect. You raise your consciousness to the fifth dimension or beyond. So now you're able to enter heaven with your soul. Well, you still stay here grounded, on Mother Earth, but it's your frequency being raised. And you don't have to stop at the fifth dimension. You can certainly, with time and at your own pace, grow to be able to achieve higher dimensional travel. And you do that with something called astral projection, and your imagination. takes you there, and it's largely through meditation. And we show you how to accomplish that, how to astral project, how to raise your consciousness on so many different levels. We're not going to be able to cover that fully at this moment. Part of it as well is to open your 7 chakras without question. That's now the energy is flowing. You're able to communicate with the higher universe. Then your body's able to receive energy from healers, from others, from other individuals, and from the universe and above. You can start to really enhance your energy levels, and that will be a blessing to your health. We definitely must open our pineal gland. This is the key to being able to raise your consciousness, right? Now, for most of the masses, myself included at a point in time, our pineal glands are calcified. We've got to open them up, and we do that using frequencies to do that, and meditation, and learning how to open up our pineal gland. And it is, as I've said, the radio antenna to the universe, the upper veils, all right? Fluoride, aluminum, calcifies our pineal gland. For goodness sake, stop using fluoride in toothpaste. Stop drinking tap water. It's full of fluoride. Is it designed to control the masses? Well, that's another, segment, conspiracy theory, call it what you may, but for God's sake, get off of fluoride. It's a poison, and it calcifies your pineal gland. It's got to be open. So that's very key. We use the process and show you with frequencies and rapid NLP and subliminals how to open your Merkaba seal and how to activate that. Very powerful technique. Incredible benefit to be able to astral project and go into the higher levels. I don't believe, in my humble view, that one will rise above the 5th or 6th dimension without using a technique like a Merkaba seal to go there. And then lastly, and there's other things, we won't cover them all, but lastly, it's imperative to open up your life codes, your inner 12-stranded DNA. So again, we have frequencies to do that. We have the codes, so to speak, on how to do that, and we can go to a grandmaster level of using ancient languages to assist in really remembering from our ancient past how to access and open up your full DNA strands. Now, people say, oh, this is crazy, 12 strands, that's impossible. Well, some believe you have 45 strands of DNA. I don't know for sure. I've activated my 12. It does allow you to have superpowers and to be who you truly are. So a combination of all of these things at a time that works for any individual, because I keep saying we're all unique. There's no, easy bake recipe that can be sent out for everyone. We're all unique, so it has to be carved out for you specifically and designed for you. And it's not up to me to tell you, who God is, what source energy is, or how to be a superhuman. It's up to me to show you your path. It's your journey. It's your journey of discovery. And as you grow and gain enlightenment, you just become more powerful. And the neat thing about all this is the knowledge is infinite. Just when I think I know it all, I get knocked down because the universe, throws more knowledge at me. And it's interesting, a chap who was in his mid-80s, and he was very gifted, spiritually awakened, very knowledgeable. Like, I was so impressed when I met this gentleman probably 7 or 8 years ago. And he said, JD, I know nothing. And I thought, oh my God, this guy knows everything. How can he be saying that? Well, I say now, I know nothing. And when you admit that, that's when the knowledge starts to come to you, because just when you think you have it all figured out, there's another level of infinite divine knowledge out there that the universe sends you. So I'm learning daily, weekly, monthly. And sometimes I say, for God's sake, stop sending me so much information, because it can be overwhelming. And sometimes you just have to take a break and take a day off and say, I'm going to the cottage, or I'm going to go swimming, or whatever.
Fair enough.
Like your job, we need breaks. But the infinite knowledge that's available to us, it's absolutely astounding, Vanessa.
That sounds like there's a whole lot to the QMA process and a whole lot to discover, learn, and use for yourself.
But I've cracked the code on how to synthesize it and make it as easy as possible and compact it into a 12-day process. And frankly, otherwise, I think you can just be drifting around for the rest of your life.
Fair enough. Sounds like a really, really good offer. Really interesting thing to try.
Yes, indeed.
So as you can hear, there's a lot to QMA. Thanks for the great session today, JD. And join us next time when we dive deeper into QMA consciousness, how to become superhuman, and the QMA Private Club. I'm your host, Vanessa Nela of the QMA podcast, wishing you well.